Yo, what's up, world? Welcome back to the channel. APW Sports signing in, and welcome to another Last Dance review. We're going to review episodes 7 and 8 in today's video. But before I start this video, make sure that you guys are staying safe out there, and a special thank you to the first care responders that are helping us throughout this strange time in this country. But let's get back to the business at hand. Without further ado, let's dive into it.
I'm striving to get rich. That's why I almost went 2 years without buying shoes and fits. Things change now. My mom hearing me with my music and she look a little prouder.
The first episode is when I really learned a lot about how deeply Michael Jordan was really thinking about retirement. And then with everything that happened with his father being murdered, just driving, pulling over to the side of the road to take a nap, and then just subsequently being murdered, and how that affected Michael Jordan, I can really relate to that a ton. Because in 2013, I unexpectedly lost my father. It wasn't due to murder or anything like that, but losing somebody you're so close to, losing a father that you're absolutely close to, and you share a lot of memories and a lot of things with, does a lot to you mentally. I have firsthand experience dealing with a lot of those emotions, because when you lose a parent that you're so close to, it takes you out mentally. You don't want to do certain things that you're accustomed to doing because you're so used to having that parent with you and by your side during all your trials and tribulations, your successes, your losses. They're there during all that, supporting you. And when you don't have that anymore, that changes a huge deal of your life. And for Michael to retire, I understood it more because it affects you 1000% mentally in what you were doing. And Michael Jordan, being the guy that was the leader, took a lot of the pressure, the big superstar of basically the world at that point, because let's face it, he's the best basketball player ever, and he's in his prime at that point. It's just a lot to deal with. So you can understand him wanting to retire, him thinking about playing baseball, because that's something him and his dad shared a dream of. So you can understand more of him fulfilling that promise. Not really promise, but fulfilling something that him and his dad had talked about a lot, was him going to play baseball. And throughout his first, I want to say, few games, he had a hitter streak where it's just like, Michael Jordan, everything is great, but the game of baseball is another game that I love. And it has a way of humbling you a bit, because me being a former baseball player myself, you have hot streaks and you have cold streaks. For him to have a 15-game hitting streak starting off, and then for him to be struggling, and for him to have the work ethic to really adapt to the baseball game, being a former basketball player, it just shows you the work ethic of Michael Jeffrey Jordan. I just don't see any athlete that has that work ethic of Michael Jeffrey Jordan. I just don't. And for him to hit over 200, a guy that is 31 years old when he retired, going into the AA minor leagues, which is a higher grade of baseball than the single A, which they wanted to send him to, but due to the media and all that, they couldn't have the right facilities for the media attention that Michael Jordan really garnered. And it's just crazy for him to hit over 200, and for him to really dedicate himself to the game of baseball during that time. And for him to really start to have that itch to go back to play basketball, BJ Armstrong really kind of challenging him a bit. It's just testament to Michael's will and his determination to be the best at everything that he does. And speaking of his retirement, a lot of people were saying that his father's death has something to do with the gambling, and he had that going on. I mean, it's coincidental, but I don't believe it a bit, honestly, because he has the money to pay off his debts and everything like that. And for somebody to imply that his father's death has something to do with the gambling, I just don't see it at all. His father, I mean, he's known because he's with Jordan a lot. You see him on TV. It's just, I just think it's a horrible situation as is already. And then for people to attack Jordan at that level, I mean, the media it's a cruel world with the media. I just want to be honest. It is a cruel world because they really built this guy up, and then the gambling stuff happened. They tore him down. And then his father being murdered, they used the gambling to tear him down even more. It's just crazy how the media builds you up to be great, and then they'll tear you down the next moment. It is absolutely crazy. And the will that Michael had when he came back with the number 45, I never knew the reason he wore 45. I didn't know. I kind of really didn't know that he wore 45. Number one, that was his high school number, and he did want to kind of steer away from 23. But when he came back in the playoffs, he had the 23 on after having a bad game against the Magic. You could tell he wasn't really in that bit of a basketball shape, especially coming back in March when the season is really winding down. Everybody has had that year to really make sure that they are in the tip-top shape for them to really have a good season. So Michael Jordan coming back, he was going to be a little bit, let's say, out of it because he's been away for a year, almost 2 years. So he has to have that time to adjust back. And then his body was already adjusted to the game of baseball. So he had to readjust himself back to the game of basketball. Now, a lot of people were saying Jordan's a bad teammate or Jordan wasn't the greatest of guys, but he's just the ultimate competitor. What more can you say about it? He's just the ultimate competitor. He wanted everybody to be great because he wants to be great. So I can't really knock him from that. Disputes in practice, I'll just say this as an athlete. I've been in practice disputes, practice fights. Things happen when you're all aiming towards a goal of being great. You're going to have practice disputes, especially if you're going hard and you're going competitive. You're going to have that every once in a while between teammates. I've had it between teammates myself playing football. You're going to have it when you're being competitive and you're trying to be great. You have that when you have goals to achieve. So I'm not really one to say, oh, he punched him, he's not a bad teammate. That's not true because it happens when you're competitive and you have that urge to be great. And Steve Kerr, I really praise him for not really backing down from it because Steve Kerr is a little guy compared to Michael, and he wasn't that big of a name, but he still has his own competitive fire. Maybe not like Michael's. I don't think anybody has Michael's. Let's just put that out the window right now. Nobody has Michael's competitive nature. And even for Michael to break down when he's talking about how much the game and how much winning and how much being great meant to him, it's just one thing that nobody, I think the closest that's been to him is Kobe. Kobe is the closest thing when it comes to the competitiveness of a Michael Jordan. Kobe is the closest thing. I don't want to hear the LeBron comparisons because LeBron does not match up when it comes to this. Kobe is the closest thing. And for him to really break down and he got emotional talking about how much it really meant to him, I mean, this man is on a whole nother level. He is on a whole nother level. Point blank, period. Let's just say that 96-97 Bulls team, that was really driving them, adding Dennis Rodman, George's competitiveness, and the whole thing between teammates. Everybody wanted to be pushed to be hard. Of course, Michael's going to be pushed to be hard because he's Michael. And then he did make the great quote, he's not going to ask you to do something that he wouldn't do. Which is true because Michael was the hardest worker I've probably seen in the game of basketball. And maybe all of sports. The time and the effort that Michael dedicated, even coming back off of that layoff and then having the Space Jam set built for him because he really wanted to get back into basketball shape, and then all the players were coming down, having that help Michael Jordan. He's able to see everything it's just crazy. Nobody has that competitive nature as Michael Jordan. I'm just going to say that now. Nobody has that competitive nature as Michael Jordan. And the thing I love about this documentary is that I love how they sequence back, forwards, more back, front, back. It's not really in chronological order, which I really love, because you get to go back and then they fast forward to a moment that has something to do emotionally or just anything to do with that. You'll see it. They go back and then they go forward and then they go back and then they go forward. I really love that because it keeps you on your toes of what they're going to talk about, one. And number two, you can really see how a lot of the past links up a lot with a lot of the season that we're really focused on, which is 97, 98. A lot of those moments that happened in the past, they really play a significant role to the moments they have in that present moment of the 97-98 season, which is The Last Dance. So this is by far the best documentary I've ever seen sports-wise. By far the best one. Not just because I'm a Chicago-born guy. Not just because the Bulls are my basketball team. Not that, it's just the way that the story is told. And you have the deep interviews with the players like BJ, Horace, Scotty, Bill Wennington, Purdue, BJ Armstrong. You have the guys that were in the trenches back then with Phil as well. And you have Jerry Weinsdorf having his spin. And then the other players like a Gary Payton. And let me touch on that Gary Payton thing. George Karl, that was a really bad coaching move. How would you not have the reigning defensive player of the year guarding the best offensive player in the world? I don't see why that was just the worst coaching move I ever seen. Let's just point that out now. That is the worst coaching move I ever seen, is to not have Gary Payton guard Michael Jordan the first 3 games and you were down 3-0. How does that... How are you an NBA brain when you don't even put Gary Payton on Michael? And as tough as Gary Payton was defensively, how do you not have him guarding Michael? I just don't see that. You need Gary Payton more for scoring, to not have him guarding Michael. I would put that man on Michael like this. That's just boggling to me. But this documentary, it just gives us so much insight into what really went on with those Bulls teams and what really went on with the psyche of Michael Jordan, especially with him making up a story about Phil and that guy from the Wizards. This name don't draw fast to me now, but it's just crazy that Michael makes up things in his mind to dominate you. To dominate you. When BJ Armstrong had that game in the playoffs against Michael, that flipped the switch on Michael. It just flipped the switch on Michael. Nobody has it like Michael. Point blank period. Point blank period. Michael is the GOAT, and I don't want to hear no conversations after that. Just leave it like that. But that's all I've got for you guys. Be sure to like the video, comment your thoughts on the documentary down below, share the video, and subscribe to the channel, as that helps the channel to grow, and click that notification bell to be notified of when I upload. And also follow me on Instagram and Twitter. Both handles with APW Sports, and both will be linked in the description below. But I just want you guys to stay absolutely safe out there. Have a great and excellent day, and I will see you guys tomorrow for another video. Peace out.
I wanna say thank you to my mom and my daddy for making love the night that you had me. Wanna thank my friends, my sister and my brother.